Hello, this is How To Bob, and today we're going to replace the bearings in the seal on a Kenmore HE3t front load washer. As you can see in this next video, it really needs it. That's what it sounds like on spin cycle. So let's go ahead and get started. Now this wash machine came with a stack kit because I had a dryer stacked on top of it. So first thing I'm going to do is take the stack kit off, which is the two little braces in the back, using just a standard Phillips screwdriver here. Should be 2 screws on each side, and those brackets just simply unscrew and come right off. And once we're done with that, we can go ahead and grab our 7mm socket or a T20 Torx bit and remove all the screws along the top so that we can remove the top cover. Just go along the whole back and remove all the screws. Make sure you save them for reassembly. Next thing I'm going to do is remove the drain hose. Just simply slide the clamp down and pull the hose off. That'll kind of get the hose out of the way. Then we can remove the top cover. Just simply lift it up and slide it backwards, and it'll come unclipped from the front of the washer. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is remove the front cover, the lower part of the front end. To do that, there's 3 screws in the bottom using a 7mm socket or a T20 Torx bit. Just remove the 3 screws. Once those are out, simply pull forward on the bottom and the bottom cover will slide right off. Now we can proceed to the back cover, and again you can use a 7mm socket or a T20 Torx bit. I chose to use a 7mm socket, and since there's so many screws, I went ahead and put it in a drill just to make it a little quicker. You can do it by hand or you can use a drill, whichever you prefer. And the next step is going to be remove the 4 screws in the top back panel. And once that's done, we'll go ahead and take the screw out that holds the hot and cold water inlet. Once that's out, all you have to do is simply slide the piece over to the side and it'll pop right out the back. Next, we're going to remove the vent grate and simply take a pair of pliers and squeeze the tabs on the back and pull the grate straight out. Top one might be a little difficult to get to. I used a pair of needle nose here. Simply pinch that and you can pull the vent grate right out. And the next thing we're going to do is drop the vent down. Then we'll go ahead and drop the discharge out as well. Just pull that through. I have to bend it up a little bit there. And now we're free to take the back top cover up, and we can get that off, get it out of the way there. And there's one plug on the side here that you may have to disconnect. It just gives you a little bit more room to work with. So now we've got that out of the way, we can go ahead and lift off the back cover. Just simply lift straight up and off. Now we're going to remove the hose from the drum, and to do that you just simply squeeze the hose clamp and pull down on the hose. You may get a little water, so we put a towel underneath it to catch any of that water. And the next thing we're going to do is remove the door seal. To do that, you go to the bottom part of the seal and kind of peel up the bottom side of it, and you'll see a clamp. It's just basically a wire with a spring on it. Once you get the screwdriver under that, it'll come right out, and you just work your way around and it'll come right off. Then you can peel the seal right off, and you'll notice at the very top of the seal, once you get it all the way off, tuck it inside, at the very top of the seal there is a hose that needs to be disconnected, so we'll just go ahead and pop that off there. And next we're going to remove the drive belt. Simply put a screwdriver in the pulley there and rotate the pulley, and the belt will slide right off. Once you got the belt off, you want to check it, turn it backwards and bend it. Look for any cracking. This one looks like it's in good shape, so we'll reuse it. Now we're going to drop the motor down. First thing you want to do is take off the ground, and then all we have to do is loosen the one bolt that's holding the motor in place. Once we get that loose, it's just a matter of rocking the motor back and forth and sliding it backwards. and we'll set that down out of the way, make it a lot easier to work. Go ahead and pull that hose off there, and then we go around to the front, and we're going to get these little electrical connections. These go to the heater that's inside the drum, so we want to go ahead and pull all those off, and then we can disconnect the wire ties by simply pinching the back there and pulling them forward. To make it much easier for reassembly, we simply just push them back in the hole when we go to put it back together. So just take my needle nose and pinch the back, and we can pull those right out. Makes it real easy for reassembly. And then we're going to take the ground wire that runs from the back all the way to the front and just unhook it, and you can see it's wound all the way up through, and it goes to the bearing area right behind the pulley. So we'll just unscrew that, remove the ground strap, and you can see here the ground wire is run through the outer drum, so you kind of want to remember how that's routed for reassembly. And go ahead and disconnect that ground clip there. Next thing we're going to do is take the shocks off. The HE3t has 4 shocks on the bottom to keep the vibration down, and simply twist, a quarter turn twist will get that done. And there's a little locking pin there. Just push down on that and give it a quarter turn counterclockwise, and then you can pull straight down on the shock. And we'll lay that down out of the way. There's 2 in the front now. Same thing. Push the little pin in and give it a little quarter turn, and lay the shock down out of the way. And the last one, push the pin in, quarter turn, and we have the shock out. Okay, now that we have everything disconnected from the drum assembly, we can go ahead and take the drum out. The only thing left holding the drum in place are 2 large springs, so you may need help holding the drum up while you disconnect the spring, and you can kind of gently set it down and go to the other side and lift up on it while you unhook the spring. They're under some good tension, so be very careful on this. Once we get the springs out, we can go ahead and carefully move the drum out so we can get to the bearing. Now that the drum's out of the wash machine, we're going to go ahead and remove the pulley. Simply put a screwdriver in there to hold the pulley in place. Grab your socket wrench, put a 15/16 socket on there, and just gently unscrew the nut that holds the pulley on. Once the nut's off there, the pulley will come off relatively easy. May have to rock it back and forth a little bit to get it to loosen up, but it'll pop right off. Well, the next thing we're going to do here is to remove all these clips. You'll see a bunch of clips all the way around the outer drum. You simply stick a screwdriver under there and pry them up one by one. Take your time. You want to save all those clips because we'll have to put them back. And I'll go ahead and mark the drum. This will make it easier for reassembly. And it really only fits together one way, but this will just make it easier for me when I go to reassemble it. Make sure we get all the clips off. Once we get all the clips off there, we can go ahead and separate the outer tub or the outer drum and set it off to the side. Be very careful. You can see the heater right there. You want to make sure that you don't disturb the heater. First thing you want to do in the bearing area is to get a pair of snap ring pliers and pull that snap ring out of there. Get a screwdriver under there and it'll pop right out. Now to separate the outer tub from the inner basket, I put a piece of wood down and I gently set it down on the spindle and just tap it, and it popped right apart. So it's really pretty easy to do. You may have to set it down a few times on there to pull it apart. And now we've got to the part where we need to work on the bearing. Now what I did to make this easier is got a 5-gallon bucket, and I set the part that I'm working on, the outer drum, up on that. So the first thing we want to do is pull the seal out of the outer drum, and that's probably what caused the bearings to fail, is the seal. And you can see this bearing is really loose and it's going to make a lot of noise at high speeds, so This is definitely the problem with our washing machine. To remove the bearing, just simply use a socket on an extension and tap it out of there. Don't have to hit it too hard and you'll hear it hit the bucket once it falls out. Let's take a look at this bearing here. It's in pretty bad shape. That's the outer bearing, and here's a look at the new bearing. Nice and smooth. So we're going to flip the outer tub over, change out to a different size socket, and we're going to remove the inner bearing now. Slowly working my way around the bearing. I can feel it sliding out little by little. And there it goes. Let's take a look at this old bearing. You can tell it was pretty loose, making a lot of noise at spin cycles, full of rust, and you can see all the grit. Let's take a look at the new bearing. Very smooth.